Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Happy New Year, guys, 2024. Hope you guys are having a wonderful start to the year. I can see people in the chat already. So if you can hear me, let me know, but go ahead, say hi. We got lots of things on the agenda tonight. Wanted to kind of give you a quick, I won't bore you too much, but just channel update, life update for me. I'm going to be revealing my allocated bourbon of the year, not my bourbon of the year, because for most of you that have followed the channel for a while, you know I do not place bourbons that I did not find at MSRP and did not find on the shelf as my bourbon of the years. So I thought what I would do this year is give you the best allocated bourbon I've tasted so far this year. And we'll do that later in the show. Probably be on for maybe 45 minutes tonight. But keep in mind when we do these lists, like I certainly have not tasted everything, and I certainly could not get my hands on everything. So this is just the best allocated bourbon that I was able to get my hands on a bottle of. And then I was able to taste a ton this year, thankfully, due to Narav and A1, because we do a whiskey mash, a whiskey festival, and we had everything there. So I got to taste a ton of allocated products that I couldn't get my hands on as far as bottles. So I'll let you know what my favorite bottle I wasn't able to get my hands on and my favorite bottle I actually got my hands on. Next week on let's see, the 11th is going to be our big bourbon of the year show. I'm going to talk about Fred Minnick's 100 top bourbon tasting. I'm going to let you guys know what I thought about that. Pretty controversial. I'll give you guys my opinions on that tonight. There is a lot of talk about the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof Batch C923. If you guys remember when I did my review on that, I told you guys that I loved it, but it was a little bitter and drying on the back end to me. And since Cam with Drums and Drams released his video, and since Jason C with Mash and Drum have talked about it, my comments on my video and emails have been nonstop. What batch did you review? What batch did you review? I'm so sick of telling people what batch I reviewed, but I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts on what everybody's saying about that. So we'll go over all that. We got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm excited for the new year. I'm going to say hi to all you guys in the chat. Looks like lots of you are hopping on. I'm excited to reveal my favorite allocated bourbon of the year. I'll tell you guys, I have not seen anyone put this in. Well, that's not true. I did see somebody put this in their top 10, but I haven't heard hardly anybody talk about it. So, but I haven't been able to watch a ton of reviews and a ton of other channels, which is good because then I give you guys my non-biased opinion. I don't want to be influenced by what other people on WhiskeyTube are doing. I want to give you guys my opinion. So, before we get started, I'm gonna get a pour of Nashville Barrel Company. This is a pick A1 did. Just a little warm up here, and oh my gosh, is it good? And our Barrels for Hope, our charity organization, we are doing a pick with Nashville Barrel Company, so I'm super excited about that. But cheers to all you. Cheers to the new year. I'll tell you guys, I had a great Christmas break. It was awesome. My daughter flew in from North Carolina. My mom came in. We had tons of family, way too much food. Had just a wonderful Christmas. I hope you guys did as well. As far as the channel goes in 2024, I actually got a new job, which is super exciting. And I'm going to be working at the University of Illinois as a risk manager. So that is something that happened right before Christmas. And I start that new job on January 16th. I don't think it's going to affect my time as far as what I can do for the channel. Maybe in the first couple months as I, do my training and get my feet set on that job. But I expect I'm not going to be reviewing as many things in 2024 for a number of reasons. Number one, it's just like I'm going to be doing less buying. And I think that's a lot of people are doing that across the board. We all bought a ton of bourbon in during COVID, and we all have these stockpiles. I know I'm definitely not chasing super expensive bottles. So I'll be reviewing what I've heard is good and what I go out and buy, but it's not going to be near as much as I've done in the past. I'm not going to go out and buy every batch of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, probably. And luckily, with Whiskey Mash, I have an ability to taste a lot of things. And with my friends that send me samples and stuff, I can taste a lot of things. And if I really like something, go find it. But I just don't have the urge to spend $500 for Generations, from Wild Turkey. I'm not going to be spending that kind of money on these bottles. It's just getting out of control. And a lot of companies are just pricing me out of highly allocated stuff. So the cool thing about this channel, I think from the very beginning, we've always said, we're not going to put allocated bottles that I couldn't find on the shelf and didn't buy at MSRP into our whiskey of the year running. If I found it on the shelf, I bought it at MSRP and I rated it really highly. Those go out to our top 5 Patreon members. And then we do a live stream and they taste those blind, but those have been vetted. They've been tasted. They've been tasted a second time, tasted a third time. Many times, half or 3/4 of the bottle is gone. And I've really had time to sit down and explore those whiskeys on several different days. And really determine whether they are in my top 5 or not. And then we kind of get a crowdsourced opinion. I send it to my Patreon members and they taste it live for you guys. And we vote on what's our favorite. And that determines our bourbon of the year. I don't know any other channel on YouTube that does it that way. I think I'm the only one that does it that way. Some people like it and some people might not, but I don't need to tell you guys George T. Stagg is a fantastic bourbon. I don't need to tell you that, Parker's Heritage is a fantastic bourbon. If you guys find those at MSRP, you're going to buy them. I just always kind of have a problem putting something as bourbon of the year if it's not attainable. And I also think that value goes into those things, and my scoring system takes value into account. So that's where we are with that. So let me get to some of your guys' comments here. Brian, what's up, buddy? He says, hey, good luck on the new job. Thank you, man. Boiler up, man. Friday, for those that don't know, we've got Illinois at Mackey Arena at Purdue. Number 9 against number 1 in the country. Mackey Arena is going to be out of control. I just hope, our best player was just arrested for rape charges. So I just hope Mackey Arena isn't like, I don't know, chanting no means no or something like that. I don't know. This is our first away game. So the guys are going to be tested. But Brian, I think we got you, man. I think we're going to space the floor and I think we got you. But who knows? Taylor Folds in the house. Taylor, what's up, man? Cheers, buddy. Taylor's one of our top Patreon members. He will be helping us select bourbon of the year. JCB says, sounds good. Awesome. Terry, what's up, Terry? Cheers. Earl says, round 2. That's right. We just had our Barrels for Hope live stream and I hadn't been on in a while, so I thought I'd hop on. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So Keith Miller, Happy New Year. Hope you and yours have a happy, healthy New Year. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Matt Strobel's in the house. What's up, Matt? Cheers, buddy. Chad is in the house. All right, we got a good crew. Power of Bourbon's in the house. Power of Bourbon, laughing out loud. You're getting that question too. Man, it is nonstop. Everyone is asking me. We'll get into it. We'll get into the Elijah Craig barrel proof controversy and my thoughts on it. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but we'll get into it. It's going to be our first topic here once I say hey to you guys. Fred, what's up, Fred? Cheers, man. Happy New Year. Terry said the original Titans pipe. Awesome bottle. Yeah, that is. I also have number 3 back there that I have not opened. Man, I don't know what Nashville Barrel Company does to their MGP, but it's different and it's good. Terry, yeah, thanks, man. I'm super. So for those that don't know, I'll tell you guys my story real quick. I was in insurance when I got out of college. My grandfather owned an insurance company. I got out of college. I was a marketing major, helped him, and then he passed away. And then I worked at Allstate, country companies, moved up through a couple different companies. Wasn't happy with the amount of work I was doing. It was a lot. I mean, I was getting 20 claims a day at sometimes. It was just a lot of work. And then I got pretty overweight at that time and changed my life through health and fitness. Put a video on YouTube. This was 10 years ago. That video went viral and had almost 2 million hits. And I had a ton of people asking me what I did with health and fitness, how I lost so much weight. My transformation was so drastic. I was in like Men's Fitness magazine. You could just Google Lance Lyle and you'll see pictures, my before and after pictures. But I started a community just helping people for free online and really found a love of fitness. We had this community of like 4,000 people. We did yearly fitness retreats here. And I helped a guy lose over 400 pounds. I helped another guy lose 215 and then was able to walk 5Ks with them. And really a special time in my life. And it kind of led me to running a gym and being a head trainer and helping people for the last 10 years in health and fitness. But I'm getting older. I'm almost 50 now. And I was worried about benefits and that kind of thing. And a position opened at the University of Illinois, which where my wife works. My daughter goes to school. It was more money, way better benefits. And I applied and got the job. So now I'm going back to what I started in. I'll be a risk manager. And I don't want to bore you with all that, but I'm super excited, but also sad for the people I'm leaving. Some of these people I've talked to 3 times a week for the last 10 years that I've trained, and they've became like best friends. I mean, I talked to them more than my best friends. So very sad and also very anxious about starting a new job, getting back into that world. I don't get to wear a hoodie anymore every day. So, all those things that go with a new job, but it's a new chapter in my life I'm excited about. So thank you, Terry. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Henry, thank you very much, man. Yeah, I know. We'll see how that goes. Chad, we'll see about that. I have tried to cut back the spending, but it's a nasty addiction. It's hard, man. It's hard. I've done really good the last 6 months. I don't buy near what I used to. But I also run a channel, so that's hard sometimes. Earl says I'm in the same boat, only looking for those exceptional bottles. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I have to keep my health in check. I've gained weight for sure, but I have to keep my health in check. So rather than drinking a lot of inexpensive bottles, right now where I'm at in my bourbon journey, I prefer to drink a little of more high-end quality stuff. But I think it's important for me to also be tasting the stuff on the shelf. So it's going to be a hard balance for sure this next year, but the channel isn't going anywhere. I mean, I love you guys. And now we have our charity organization and it's, we're full tilt on that. So it has been an amazing thing. So I'm excited. Lance, this is one of the reasons we follow you. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mike Booth, at this point, I'm looking for experiences in my whiskey. Yep. Sharing pours with friends. Absolutely. And going to those events that bring friends together is what I'm looking for. 100%, Mike. Yep. Mike is a guy that I met through the channel and I feel like we became really good friends and I value his friendship. So, as I do so many of you guys. So yeah, man, for sure. Kim, what's up, Kim? Cheers. Cheers. Steve is in the house. Major Zero's in the house. Oh, no shit, Major Zero. Lost 160 pounds last year. Congrats, man. That is awesome. I lost 75 when I went through my transformation. I've put a lot of that back on, but my wife and I are about to get serious this year. So I'm excited for the future. So let's see. What else we got? Matt is amazing. It's awesome. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get caught up. Major Zero said mini drams are the way to go. Yeah, man, that's totally where I'm at. I do a lot of mini drams. That's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. Terry said, hit the like button. Yeah, man, hit the like button. Thanks, guys. Matt said, I totally agree. I'm in the boat of drinking smaller amounts, but higher end stuff and avoiding the lower shelf stuff. Yeah, I do like some of the lower shelf stuff too, though. Like Green River. I was super excited to see Bardstown Bourbon Company, who I've been kind of criticizing a lot lately and saying I was priced out of their stuff, their Discovery Series stuff, and all their blends. I was super excited to see them come out with the Origin Series, super affordable and great stuff. So I want to highlight, companies and distilleries that are doing that kind of thing. Heaven Hill always prices their stuff good, and it's attainable. You can get it. So yeah, man. All right, well, let's talk about the first topic here today, guys. Let me pull up the list here. So the first topic we're gonna discuss real quick is the Elijah Craig barrel proof craziness. So I think most of you guys that follow the channel have probably heard. You probably don't know my stance on this, but this is Elijah Craig C923, and it's hard enough for us to keep these batches straight, to know that there are also micro batches. And on the back, there's a laser code down here. And I don't know when this started, but a lot of people were reviewing this, reviewing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923, and some people were going crazy over it, saying it was their bourbon of the year. I was highly skeptical of that, and I said that in my review. And I was trying to like put my biases aside, because usually when a bunch of people jump on something, my instinct is to go against it. But some people were not having the same experience when reviewing this. And I remember I was one of the first that put my review out, and I said that while I loved it and it was one of the better batches of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, there was some dryness and bitterness on the back end that I wasn't super fond of, and I didn't know if it would compete with the 2020 batches. Now, a lot of people took that as I didn't like it, and that's not true at all. I actually absolutely love this. And myself and a couple Patreon members did a live stream. You can go find it, but we did this blind against the C920 batches. And the C923 finished first ahead of all the 2020 batches for us, for all of us, as a matter of fact. So it proved to me right there, right then and there, that this was an exceptional batch of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. It definitely deserved Bourbon of the Year consideration. For me, it had to be, I had to have found it on the shelf for it to be Bourbon of the Year consideration, and I had to have bought it near MSRP. And both of those things were true with this, which is surprising because these are getting harder and harder to find. And Elijah Craig Barrel Proof has won our Bourbon of the Year in the past. I think in 2020 it did. So I was super excited that I was able to find this on the shelf. Now, since that video came out, so many people have messaged me saying, what batch did you get? Which batch did you get? I bet you got batch A22 and not A23. Well, this is A23. So this is the batch people are claiming is better. Since that time, I've seen a couple people review it. I watched Jason with Mash and Drum review it. He did it first, not blind. And I said right from the beginning, I saw him, I saw Whiskey and Friends, I saw Cam with Drums and Drams review it against the A22. And I said right then and there, there's too many biases if you know what you're drinking, but it's not enough to just do it blind and test one batch against another batch. I think in order for you to truly know, you need to do it in a triangle. You need to have two of one sample and one of the other. And you've got to tell me you can tell which two are different than that single one. And if you can do that, maybe I trust your opinion on that. But the difference between the A23 and the A22 batch, it's all dumped in the same container as far as what I've been told. It's just bottled on different days. So if there is variance, I highly doubt there's a lot of variance. In fact, if you watch Jason with Mash and Drum do his tasting, when he did them blind, or when he knew what he was tasting, he thought he liked the A22 batch better. And then he put him in a blind and he picked the A23 batch. So I think that's going to be most people. The other thing I think is really important to take into consideration when you're tasting side by side and you're going back and forth and it's the same batch. You guys have tasted a lot of bourbon, and you know from sip to sip, when you're tasting the same bourbon, you can experience different things from sip to sip. And I think that's a lot of what's going on when they're going back and forth between an A B sample. Just my opinion, but I really doubt that there's that much difference. And I want to see someone do a triangle. I would love to do a triangle, but I have one backup bottle of this, and it's also the A23 batch. I would love to get 2 samples of the B22 batch, do a triangle blind, and see if I can pick out which 2 samples are the same among the 3 and which one I like the best. I think that's the true indication of whether, you know, this conspiracy theory holds any water. And even if it does, it's just you're still getting a 13-year, 7-month barrel strength bourbon that's incredible. I don't think it matters. Just don't think it matters. It's in Bourbon of the Year, running, and it is one of the best bourbons of the year. So let me see what you guys are saying about all this in the chat. Am I crazy? Am I making any sense? I just don't trust I don't think the other people reviewing it are doing it correctly. Just my opinion though. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, let me get to Chad here. Sipping the Bardstown White Label now. So damn good for the money. Yeah, sure is. The infamous laser codes. Yeah, I just can't believe how Whiskey Tube World. I'm gonna have another glass here. I can't believe how people are freaking out over these laser codes. Oh, Taylor said, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one. Yeah. Major Zero said mine is bitter. I agree with you. It's 13 years, 7 months. I'm gonna taste a little bit right now, but I agree. I think it is a little bitter for me. And I love oak, so don't get me wrong. I love some oak. But it was a little bitter. Now I haven't had this in a little bit, and as you can see, my bottle is down because I've sampled a lot of this out and we've tasted it in some blinds. So let me taste it. Good Lord. That is so good, man. That is so good. It is bitter and drying on the back end. The front is just so much concentrated rickhouse, a little bit of like red fruit, super cinnamony. Cinnamony, is that a word? All the baking spices that you'd love. It's hard to pinpoint one, but I would say maybe, cinnamon. There's definitely some like leather and tobacco notes on the finish, but it is a little bit drying, and that's the only thing I knocked about. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just what it is. Do I think it's perfect? I don't think it's perfect, but it's damn good, and it's an elite bourbon in my opinion. If you want to know like what I think what an almost perfect bourbon for me was Old Fitz 17. The proof was right, crushable, but super concentrated, long finish, super complex. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful expression. That's as close to perfect for a bourbon as it gets for me. And even Old Fitz 19 was super amazing, just more oak forward. And so if people don't like oak, I don't think they liked Old Fitz 19, but I actually loved it. If I had to pick between the two, it's just, am I feeling more fruit or am I feeling more oak that night? But they were both great. This is a little bit bitter, just a little bit. Matt said, what about the larceny batches? I did a blind of all the 23s tonight. Really enjoyed B523 for that one. So I didn't buy any of the larcenies. I didn't see. No, that's not true. I did see one of them on the shelf, and I didn't buy it. The larcenies are fine to me, but I just never go back to them that much. I'm not super crazy on really peanut forward bourbons. So if something's really peanut forward, it's probably not going to be in my blind. It just doesn't hit my palate right. But we've got plenty of Patreon members who love those peanut forward bourbons. In fact, Booker's Bardstown batch won our bourbon of the year because it was a findable bourbon. And 2 people on our tasting panel really loved peanut forward bourbons. But that batch is great. I love that Bardstown batch. It won our bourbon of the year, whatever year it came out. Was that 02? I can't remember. Let's see. David Bass, any bad C923 send my way. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Matt, +1 to triangle blinds. Yeah, man, I would love to do one. I just don't have the other batch people are claiming is worse. But I think even Darrell with Whiskey and Friends, I might be wrong about this, but I think he did the same thing. He tasted it, thought he liked A22 better, did it in a blind, picked A23. I think you really got to do a triangle blind to know if you are just having differences from sip to sip, or if you can really identify which of the three are the same, which is the outlier, and which one you like best. Bourbon and balls. Has there been a statement from Heaven Hill? Not that I know of, and I doubt they will. They know they put out a good product. I mean, the only thing I've heard is from a rep who said the only difference between those laser codes is it was dumped on a different day or bottled on a different day. I'm sorry. So there shouldn't be much difference. Buy the Dip says my laser code starts with 7. Yeah, I guess there's some different ones out there too. I've heard of mine says A23331416 is the laser code on mine. So Power Bourbon, it seems like this week has been all about the conspiracies. Yeah. I assume Power Bourbon, you're talking about the conspiracy with 13th Colony. And I haven't really looked into that. I heard some rumblings about some stuff going on with 13th Colony. I think there was I don't know if it was a blog post or what. Somebody made some accusations. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that. All I know is I think the thing in question was whether they were sourcing or not, because of the way that it's labeled on their bottle, because it doesn't say distilled by, and it is supposed to be their own distillate. So, yeah, I don't know. I've noticed that. I think I even said that on one of my early reviews. I do know I like their double oaked. That was not in Fred. We're gonna get to Fred Minnick's top 100 and here in a second, but I know that was not in his top 100. I really like it, but again, I haven't liked the double oaked 13th Colony as much as other people. Again, because I thought it was a little too bitter and a little too dry, but I do like it. So, Matt, you don't get any peanut notes on Larceny. Well, hey man, everybody's palate's different. I'm not saying you're not wrong. It's just you get what you get. So, but I definitely get peanut forward stuff. I mean, if you put that in in a blind with some other things, I can pick out Larceny barrel proof pretty easy. Power Bourbon, when you make something good, people hype it up and nothing lives up to the expectations. So something has to be wrong with it, not you. Sometimes that is true. Absolutely. Yep. And I have to honestly fight my brain when everybody's hyping something up. I have to try to remove all those biases. It's hard, man. It's really hard. That's why I think a triangle blind for ECBP C923 is the way to go, to really know if you're just tasting differences from sip to sip, or if you can actually identify that two of those are the same, one is an outlier. I doubt many people are doing it. Honestly, I doubt it. It makes much of a difference. Especially after seeing Jason last night know what he was drinking and pick the A22 batch, and then in a blind he picked the A23 batch. Just don't think there's that much difference. All right, let's see here. Let's move on. I've talked about the ECBP conspiracy theories. Let's talk about the Fred Minnick top 100 tasting. I'm interested to read your guys' thoughts on this. So I titled it, Is Fred Crazy? So I have some thoughts on this that I haven't expressed yet. And let me preface this with a couple of things, okay? I actually, while my palate doesn't line up with Fred's a lot, I actually respect him a lot, especially for what he's been through. You know, he's served in our military. His knowledge of bourbon is unmatched. He's written several books. I respect him. I like him. He's actually going to be a guest at our Barrels for Hope year-end event in July. So I'm a Fred fan. But that being said, and I would say this to his face, because it's okay to disagree with people. I hate the top 100 tasting. I do not like it. I understand, you know, he keeps saying he's a professional. I get that. I don't know exactly what that means in the bourbon space, if we're being honest. Um, and I know he tastes a lot of things, a lot more things than I do. But I just don't find it necessary to taste 100 samples in a night to determine something as nuanced as bourbon of the year. Um, Especially when you're looking for complexity, you're looking for mouthfeel, you're looking for finish. A lot for me, that's one of the most important things. And you're not only spitting samples, which is fine, but you're taking sips of water immediately after every sample. I mean, like right away. I don't know how you can evaluate a finish like that. Um, and more than anything, bourbon is so nuanced. Like if I throw some 100 proof old fits in with some higher proof bourbons, it may be fantastic, but against those, it's not going to hold up. That's why I love to taste if I love a bottle, I like to sip through it throughout the year and determine whether it's going to go in my top 5 or not. I like to sit down with it. I like to really spend some time with it. And I just don't think anyone, I don't care professional or not, I don't care how much bourbon you've drank, I don't think you can effectively taste 100 samples in one night with any sort of accuracy. I just don't. I would much rather see him because I respect him and I do, even though my palate doesn't always line up with his. Man, I love watching him. I love to hear what he has to say. I love hearing his perspective on certain bourbons. I would much more appreciate him sitting down with 20 bourbons and taking the same amount of time, narrowing it down to his top 20 through many tastings throughout the year, and then really breaking those down would be, I think it'd hold a lot more weight. It just seems, I don't know if this is on purpose or not, but 100 tastings in one night is very clickbaity. And like I want to watch it. I want to watch the craziness because I can't even imagine that it's accurate, but I want to watch it. Um, and just from, everyone's palate's different. So, but the fact that he put 2 larceny barrel proofs in his top 100 for me, I don't know. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Am I crazy? You guys like the top 100? I like watching it. It's super entertaining. I just don't hold, it doesn't hold any weight for me. And really, a lot of people's top 100 or top bourbons of the year list should hold a little weight, but not a lot of weight because we're all not tasting every bourbon that comes out in a year, right? So let's see. Let's see what you guys think. I'm curious. Let's see. Let's see. Matt says, do it over multiple days, pick top 2 or 3 each day, do a complete review versus bullcrap of doing 100 samples in one night. I mean, it would hold a lot more weight. Let's put it that way. David Bass, exactly 100 and sitting a no. Divide up 10 days. Fred is good for bourbon, though. Not a fan of 100 in a day. Yeah, Fred's great for bourbon. I love, some people don't like Fred. I love Fred Minnick. I love that he has the bravery to wear an ascot. You have to respect that he does not, he will stand by his opinion 100%. He does not give 2 shits if he disagrees with everybody on Whiskey Tube. And I respect that. I respect the hell out of that. So there's a lot of things that I love about Fred. I just don't get the 100 samples in one night. Maybe I'm not, and I'm not a professional, so maybe that's the difference. But Taylor Folds, I agree. I think after doing all of those samples, regardless of spitting them on your palate, has to be impacted and things start to blend together. Yeah, and you watch, I didn't watch the whole thing. I kind of skipped ahead, skipped in spots. And man, he's sitting there and he's like, you can tell he's like breathing heavy and trying to clear his palate, and he's drinking water and eating cheese and doing all these different things. I'm like, there's no way. Matt says, you think he sold out for views? No, I don't think Fred is. I mean, some people have, questioned whether he's, paid off and all that stuff. Personally don't think so. I think he truly believes that he's able to taste those, and he stands by it. So no, I mean, to me it's clickbaity. Like, definitely doing 100 in a night sounds so crazy. You're gonna click on it for sure. But I wouldn't say that's his intent. He's got enough clout in the bourbon world that I think he's fine either way. So Whiskey Corner, what's up, dude? Cheers, man. Cheers. Chad says, I got to think he's done with 100. It's very clicky, but there are better ways to make a splash. Yeah, like I said, I think most of the bourbon community and the people watching that video would much rather see him take his time with 20 bourbons over a couple hours than, rapid fire 100. To me, I would, and I would respect the outcome a lot more, especially if he's taking time with those bottles to get him into the top 25 or whatever. Power Bourbon says he needs to do a top 100 for the random whiskey fan and for the clickbait, and then a top 20 for whiskey nerds like us, where he takes his time. Yeah, that would be fine. I'd be fine with that. I just wouldn't put any weight behind the top 100. I mean, I think like if you look at, I think he put Maker's Mark Cellar Aged as number like 84 of his top 100, and if you watch his review of that, you damn near had an orgasm on camera. I mean, he loved it. But I think, what's the proof on that? I think it's like 107. And you're rapid firing through there, and you can't. One of the things I think he talked about was the finish on that. And when you're tasting those samples like that and taking water right after and spitting, I just don't think it's going to translate. So I definitely think there's some flaws in the top 100, but there's flaws in all of our top lists, if we're being honest. I just think it's so unnecessary when you're talking about something so nuanced and complex as bourbon. It's just not necessary to do. Top 20, even better for year. Makes me think he's more legit though. Yeah. Power Bourbon, it's also not fair because, like it or not, Fred's opinion can sink you or boost your sales. Yeah. I mean, probably more than anybody next to Bourbon Junkies on Whiskey Tube for sure. He's the Whiskey Terminator. Skynet has landed. Corey L said, hey, Lance, yeah, you can tell at the end Fred was struggling. He was definitely struggling for sure. Taylor said, I have to say it helped pump up Larceny 920. Yeah, I mean, now everybody's running out for Larceny. Doesn't even matter what batch. But hey, maybe that anyone wants to trade me some Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923, any of the laser codes for some Larceny Barrel Proof, all day. Big Vic's in the house. What's up, man? What is up? Toon says, nice collection, Whiskey Tornado. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a lot of years back there. Chad says, unnecessary is the word. We all would revel in knowing not only what's exceptional, but available. Yeah, I think, I will say, Fred puts a lot of younger distilleries in his top 100 too, which I appreciate, even though I don't like those a lot. So I've seen a lot of Whiskey Tube people go from hating craft whiskey and then later in their bourbon journey to appreciating grain forward craft whiskeys. And I'm interested to see if that will happen to me. It has not, because I just do not like grain forward, youthful whiskeys. So if it's a craft distillery, most of the time I just try to determine whether I think it's promising or not. Some craft distilleries that I've absolutely loved are Hard Truth and Still Austin. And Ben Holiday, actually, I really liked as well. Um, so, but Fred's got, that's the other thing about Fred's list. He's got like this wide variety of rye bourbons, finished bourbons. Man, that's tough. That is tough to have something finished and then taste something else right after it. Especially, it's just um David said rigged. I don't think it's rigged. Bourbon base it. Was it just me, or was it shockingly easier to pick up a Van Winkle this year than it has been in the past? No, I did not see it. I did not see anything. So, I just don't hunt like I used to hunt for whiskey anymore. So I'm probably a bad person to ask. Um, but yeah, no, I did not have that experience. Maybe some other people in the chat did. All right. Let's talk. Let's talk about my allocated bourbon of the year. So as I've stated, but for those of you just tuning in, for me personally, it's very important for my channel to, if I'm going to put something as bourbon of the year, I want it to be attainable. So it has to be something I found on the shelf, and I want to have purchased it for close to MSRP. So if it's marked up $10, no big deal. That can still go in my bourbon of the year running. But I've never liked lists that contain, 10, their top 10 bourbons, and 8 of them are bourbons most people can't find. It just makes people upset. It makes bourbon frustrating for people. So while I say that, let me grab this so I can have some of this, because I'm going to have some of this pour tonight. If you guys are wondering what is my top bourbon of the year based on those categories, tune in next Thursday night. We're going to have some Patreon members on. I'm going to send them my favorite pours that I found on the shelf throughout the year. There are some good ones. I will tell you, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923 is in there. So that's a front runner, but I have a couple surprises in there. And I'm really interested and excited to see what we pick as our bourbon of the year. But my bourbon of the year sometimes is different than everybody else's. And as we get further into the bourbon game and things are harder to find, my list for bourbon of the year is probably going to be more wild every year. That being said, I want to tell you guys what my favorite allocated bourbon of the year was. Now, 2 categories. One, a bottle I was able to get, and I was able to get it from a manager of a store. So again, I did not find this on the shelf, so it's not in my bourbon of the year. But my favorite pour of the year, allocated, was the Jim Beam 17-year Claremont. Was my favorite pour of 2023. Now, I only had that at Whiskey Mash. So I had a couple pours of it at our whiskey festival. That's the only way that I found it. And it was so fantastic, but definitely my favorite pour that I had. And I had pretty much everything except I did not have the George T. Stagg. So I'm sure that would have been up there. But as far as bottles that I was able, my bourbon of the year, because I had to have attained a bottle for allocated products. So is, and I haven't seen anybody say this, and I'll tell you why this is my allocated pick of the year. It's very specific to my palate. So I'm not sure how you guys will feel about this, but it is Stagg Jr. And I'll tell you guys, I was shocked by this. Stagg Jr. batch 23B. 23B was my favorite allocated bottle that I was able to purchase in 2023. And I'm going to taste it and just see if it holds up. I got this. I wasn't going to open it. And we had a lot of people over for a Christmas party. And one of the guys wanted to taste it. So I was like, sure, we'll crack it open. I wasn't expecting it to blow me away like it did. And the reason it's so good is it reminds me, I mean, it's Stag Junior. You've got, your typical like kind of cherry cola notes. But what's so unique about this batch is it has a slight medicinal cherry note that reminds me of dusty whiskeys from the 70s. I've had a lot of dusties with that cherry kind of funky note to it, but those whiskeys didn't have enough weight and they tasted a little watered down. Man, this batch of Stag Junior, I'm gonna keep calling it Stag Junior. I know it doesn't say Stag Junior, but I'm gonna keep calling it Stag Junior. I mean, the nose is phenomenal. I'm gonna taste it. I'm in love. I am in love with this batch of Stag because it reminds me of dusty whiskey, and that to me is so unique. And I haven't watched anyone's review on this, so I have no idea what people are saying about it. I can just tell you right now, when I want to go to a bottle in my collection and I want a very special, amazing pour, it's this 23B batch. I just absolutely love it. It's got those funky, dusty notes. Um, and it's also got the cherry cola. Oh man, it is so, so beautiful. I think this was in Fred Minnick's top 10, actually. Um, yeah, I think he had 3 or 4 Stag products in his top 10, and I'm pretty sure this was in his top 10. I don't know how he rated it though. Um, but I don't know if he noticed those like kind of dusty, funky notes. But it is so well rounded. The viscosity is amazing. If I found this on the shelf, this would probably be my favorite pick of the year. But oh my gosh, it's a fantastic batch of Stag. I wish I had more of them. I'm so glad I opened it because I've got a few Stag Juniors back there opened, and I was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to open this. I'm so glad I did because it was really fantastic. One of my favorite pours of the year. So definitely my allocated bourbon of the year. Um, Let's see. Earl said, "So does that differ from regular Hardin's Creek, which is aged at Claremont?" So yeah, so there were 3 Hardin's 17-year Hardin's Creeks, a Boston batch, Claremont, and a Frankfurt. For me, the Claremont had a little bit more fruitiness to it, and I freaking loved it. It is such a fantastic pour. But that was probably my favorite pour of 2023. Power Bourbon says, sounds like it reminds you of that Wild Turkey bottled in bond. So it is not as medicinal as the 17-year Wild Turkey Master's Keep bottled in bond. That was so medicinal, and I absolutely loved it. This is just like a whisper of medicinal cherry, but it's not off-putting. Like some people, I totally understood why some people did not like Wild Turkey, the 17-year bottled in bond. This is just so good. It is really good. Chad, cherry, musty, funky, and everything you could hope for. Truly a unicorn. Yeah. Yeah. Corey, have you had a chance to taste the other 2 Stag batches this year to compare? I have one of them, and I think I do. Hold on. Let me check. Nope. I have 22A and 22B. I did not get 23A. So I do not have those. Uh, let's see, Matt. Damn it, Stag was a bottle that I could purchase 4 years ago, but now there's no way. Do you think bourbon will ever get back to that? That's a good question. There's definitely a downtick in bourbon right now. Like I know stores I talk to that buy lots of single barrels are not going to be purchasing as many store picks this year. I know that's definitely a trend. Um, Sales are definitely down. Secondary prices are definitely down. I think, I think that most consumers that were bourbon fans during COVID, we all bought so much and we all had such big FOMO, that now we can't drink all that we have. Like that collection back there would last me to the end of my life. But I'm gonna keep buying stuff. Um, just not as much. I have to slow down. I Storage is a big issue. Like I don't have anywhere to store it. So and then I also have distilleries that send me stuff. And I just don't have room. So yeah, Matt said maybe a topic for a live stream. Yeah, for sure, man. 23B, Earl said 23B brings it back Stag Junior batches, in my opinion. Mm. God, it's so good, man. I love it. So Stag Junior batch 12 and batch 15 were favorites of mine. I'm a fat kid at heart. The sweeter, the better for me with bourbon sometimes. And Stag 15 was like raspberry candy. I have one unopened back there, and I'm saving that bottle for a special day. I wish I had more so I could compare it to this one, but I don't think this is as sweet. This is more of that kind of slight medicinal, funky, dusty bourbon, like from the 70s. So good, man. Just special bottle, I think. Power of Bourbon. I have not seen a Stag on the shelf in years. I wish I know, man. I do too because it's one of my favorite pours. Um, I'm just I'm just lucky a manager called me on that one. So, um, haven't cracked my 23B yet. You're tempting me. I mean, I'd crack that sucker. I wasn't going to. I thought, I've got enough open Stag Juniors. I'm not going to, but one of my buddies convinced me to, and I'm so glad we did. And then I thought, well, maybe it's, we're having a special night. We had a ton of people over, a ton of people here in the bourbon room, just sampling a bunch of bourbons. And I thought, maybe this just a special night, and I'm giving it more credit than it really needs. And I've tasted it a few other times now, and I just love it every time. So. Oh, Whiskey Corner got 23A this year. Man, did you get 23B also? I'm curious to see which one you liked more. I don't know if everyone would like this batch more because it does have that slight medicinal cherry note, and some people hate that. It depends for me if I like it or not. But this one's special. Corey, I'll bring you a sample of 23A when I come pick up. Oh, nice, man. Sweet. That'd be awesome. And I can taste them side by side on a live stream. Earl said, "Yep, still hoarding batch 12 and 15." I don't have a batch 12 anymore, but I do have 115. Trey, what's up, Trey? Cheers, buddy. Stag 15 was the first I got. Oh, no shit. Good job, man. G-Hawk, what's up, dude? Cheers all. Was watching Barrels for Hope live stream. Realized I should be here. Yeah. Cheers, man. So if you're just joining us, G-Hawk, Stag 23B is my allocated bourbon of the year. For my bourbon of the year, I only choose bottles that I found on the shelf and at or near MSRP. So we're doing that live stream next week. We'll do a blind tasting, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what we crown this year. Chad says market saturation is going to hurt the newcomers to the market. Experienced bourbon enthusiasts will undoubtedly start to focus on their preferred flavor profile. Yeah, that's for sure, man. Like I said earlier tonight, like I know that I'm just never reaching for larceny barrel proofs. They're not bad. I like them, but I'm not reaching for it regularly. So I just skip over them now. I'm just not buying them much. Trey Ryan, yo, Lance, what I missed? Stag 15 was the first one I was able. So Trey, you missed. We talked about the Elijah Craig barrel proof craziness. Whether the A23 batches or A22 batches, I guess micro batches, are any different. We talked about whether Fred Minnick's crazy or not. and then I reveal my allocated bourbon of the year. So Whiskey Corner, I reviewed both of them side by side, picked 23A. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure like I don't think that I would be in the majority with 23B, but that's the cool thing about bourbon, and I'm never afraid. It's again one of the reasons why I respect Fred Minnick. I'm never afraid to go against the grain and just tell you guys what my favorite thing is. I don't care what everyone else's favorite thing is. I use it as a guide. But if your palates line up with mine, then and you see I review something favorably, then you can go hunt it. But um I have no ties to anything, man. If I love something, I will say I love it. David says batch 15 is great. Stag Junior batch. Yeah, I really liked it. Brian says, great question. Can you tell us what 5 bourbons are in the running, or is that blind to the Patreon members that are sampling along? I can't, Brian. So, and it's only 3 this year. I'm sending them 3 samples. You're gonna know one of the three. One of the 3, because I've already told you guys tonight, is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch C923. That is in the lineup. I think the other 2 are really surprising. And I'm interested to see how they place against it. So we'll see. But in my scoring system, value becomes a major player. And then again, for the 50th time, whether I found it on the shelf and bought it close to MSRP, always has to play a part in my bourbon of the year, because I think it's, I don't do single barrels. There's no reason for me to put a single barrel in my top 10 of the year because they're too hard to find. I want my bourbon of the year to be something that my followers can find. And that's important to me. So, if it's a super small bottling or is impossible to find or is super high in price, it will probably not make my list because I attach value to my scoring system. Trey says, "Wow, I was literally just typing what's your thoughts on Minnick's list." Apparently, yeah, go watch it, man. I go in depth, pretty good about what I thought about Fred Minnick's top 100 list. Again, love the guy, respect the guy. He's coming to our charity event. He's going to be a special guest at our end of the year charity event. But I think it's the top 100 list is unnecessary for something as nuanced as bourbon. I think he could accomplish a lot more and have a lot more credibility in that list if he narrowed it down to like 20 and spent the same amount of time really tasting and exploring 20 bourbons, his top 20. That's something I would rather see. I think the top 100 is kind of clicky and a little clickbaity. Did you have any other close contenders for your allocated bourbon? Obviously all of the all of those 17-year Jim Beams I loved. What else was good in my I didn't get a lot, to be honest, guys. I'm having a hard time remembering what all I've tasted this year. I tasted a ton. I did enjoy the Makers cellar aged. People were all over the place on that. I really enjoyed that, but it wasn't gonna be in contention with Claremont or Frankfurt. Let's see what else. I tried I had the Old Fitz 8. That one was okay. And I've been a big fan of, the Old Fitz 17 and 19. Last year, the Old Fitz 17 and 19 probably would have been my number 1A, 1B as my top allocated product that I tried. And also the George T. Stagg from 23 was or from 22 was amazing. That bottle was really good. I don't know that if I tried a George T. Stagg 23 at Whiskey Mash, I don't remember. Let's just say that. But I did try the whole BTAC lineup besides that. The E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof I really loved from this year. I have that back there. That was probably close. Let's see. By the way, both you and Chuck are wrong. Frankfurt was way better. Ah, it's okay to be wrong. They were both fantastic. I mean, again, that's like splitting hairs to me. Um, the the Frankfurt, if I remember correctly, was just more like fruit forward. Claremont was more oak forward. So just a matter of what you like. Let's see. Trey said aged cellar at 84 was pretty laughable. Yeah, that's why it's hard to hold a lot of weight to his list. Um, I mean, I'm not surprised that he loved it when he tasted it by itself and then placed it so low in a hundred bourbons that were finished or rise or higher proofs. Um, it's just not going to hold up unless you sit down and take your time with it. There was, I think, one of the best examples of that for me is Wild Turkey Father and Sons. I was able to sit down with that bottle and really enjoy it for what it was. And when you taste that on its own and it's the only bourbon that you're drinking that night, you have to love the texture, the mouth feel, the concentrated flavors. But you put Wild Turkey Father and Sons in with some other higher proof samples, it's going to be invisible, and you're not going to like it. And not that you won't like it, but it's just going to be invisible. And I think that does a real disservice to lower proof bourbons. So, and I think cellar age was like 107 proof, but still. David Base, congrats on 7,000 subs. How far? Yeah, man, right? I know. It's crazy. And I'm not, honestly, I'm not. There was a time a couple years ago I was really like chasing subs um and just, I mean, I was watching analytics and trying everything. Now I've just really enjoyed getting to know the members that I have, the members that tune in, really focused on our charity organization, and just enjoying not taking bourbon too seriously, and sharing pours with friends, and doing good for the community. That's really what I'm about. So if we don't gain another subscriber, that's just fine by me. Um, and I won't be putting out the content that I was, you know, 2 years ago. I won't be probably doing a review every week. I just have too much bourbon to keep that up. I don't know how some of the channels do it, to be honest with you, but um, I will continue to try to do these live streams every week for you guys and get on and say hey and let you know what's going on, let you know if I've tasted anything, and samples I've been sent, or whiskey festivals I've been to, or barrel picks we've been on. So I'll try to keep you guys all informed of that stuff for those 30 of you awesome people that tune in every week. All right, let's see. Did you try King of Kentucky? I did try a King of Kentucky at Whiskey Mash at a bottle share. And I don't know if Jason's in, if he's watching. I think he brought that. I think that was this year. I mean, King of Kentucky is always fantastic. I know I loved it. I don't know if it was this year's or not. How do they stack up against the big boy Stag, Hardens Creek, Heaven Hill 20 year, etc.? Um, I mean, if you love Brown Foreman, if that is your flavor profile, if you love those kind of banana Foster notes, then 1,000% get it, because it's like the best Old Forester Brown Foreman product, just amped up to 100. They're so good. Um, for me personally, the um the the Hardens Creek is more of a proof point that I can sit down and really enjoy every night. But that being said, I also really love George T. Stagg. I mean, that is just my jam, man. I just love George T. Stagg. It is so fantastic. Heaven Hill 17 is a bottle. I liked Heaven Hill 17 a lot better than Heaven Hill 20, but Heaven Hill 17 is probably one of my top 5 pours. I freaking love that bottle. Love Heaven Hill 17. Oh, Taylor said he thinks GTS is kind of off profile. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Man, I wish I remembered if I had a whiskey mash. Uh, Chad says Barrels for Hope is something you should brag about. You deserve it. It's a source of pride for me to be a member, but what you create is truly special. Oh, dude, that means a lot. Honestly, that means a lot. It's probably the coolest thing I've done. I mean, I've helped a lot of people in fitness, but um that's something, you think about legacy, you think about making an impact when you're gone, before you're gone, and the people I've helped with fitness and Barrels for Hope are two things I'm extremely proud of. So when I'm long gone, if who knows if we can keep Barrels for Hope going, but so far so good, man. It's been amazing. We're going to donate about 40 to 50,000 to charity is what we're on pace for our first year. And if by some miracle, down the road, we can have chapters of Barrels for Hope. We have 5 to 10 chapters all doing 50 to 100,000 a year. Then that's when you start making a real difference, and we're donating 1 million a year to charities. That would be super cool. Very hard to do. A lot of work. It takes stores like A1. It takes people like Narav who are willing to help help an organization with a crazy idea and a crazy goals to do. We could not do it without A1 and Narav. That's the hardest part, is like if we start setting up other chapters, meeting with stores who are willing to do what Narav has done for us, which is sell us barrels at wholesale so that we have money to give back to charity, and we give 100% of our proceeds back to charity. It's just our board is all volunteer. We had an hour and a half meeting last night, just trying to figure out ways to navigate the crazy barrel pick programs. I mean, you can't imagine the stuff that's thrown at us as far as barrel picks go, whether that's, getting certain barrels, or going to pick a barrel and that barrel being sent to a wrong store, or a distributor, having money problems and not getting the barrels we picked. I mean, it is just nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. And if we didn't have amazing people on our board who were volunteering every night, and every day, it wouldn't work. So finding people like that in different chapters and stores like A1 is really hard. I don't know I don't know if it's duplicatable. Is that a word? Duplicatable? I don't know how we duplicate that, but we're trying. So Earl said agreed. David, I was bummed couldn't make Barrels for Hope in Nashville, but since Dan and you couldn't, makes it easier for me. Yeah, man, that Nashville barrel company pick, I want to go so bad. But with the new job, there's no way. Oh man. I love that bottle. Terry says that would be amazing. Yeah, man, that's big goal. Big goal. That would be awesome to do. Trey, congrats on career change, man. Enjoy the change of scenery. Can't wait to cheers a pour in the future. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. We'll definitely need to get a pour together sometime. David said props and cheers to A1. Yep. Absolutely. Earl, I was in Louisville a few weeks ago wearing Barrels for Hope hoodie, and I could hear whispers from random people saying he's in. No shit. That's super cool, man. I mean, we're gonna have at our year-end event, we've got Fred Minnick coming, we've got every distillery that we did a pick with is coming. All the charities that we're donating money to are gonna have representatives there. Kim is doing an amazing job with the year-end event. It's going to be in Louisville. We're taking buses to Starlight. We're going to be doing a barrel pick with the people that are there. I think we only have like 12 tickets left for the year-end event. So it's a credit to you guys to support the organization, number one, because it is not possible without you guys. It takes all of us to make Barrels for Hope go. And it's just, it's a crazy idea I had when Renee was recovering from cancer, and called Actually, I don't know that I had the whole idea in my head, but I called Josh with Stuff and Whiskey, who is just an amazing human, and um, said, "Hey, man, I got an idea." Actually, I called Narav first. When I pitched it to him, he was like, "Whatever you need." So then I called Josh, and we started just round tabling ideas, and it started to grow, and then we started to figure out who we wanted to bring on as other founders, and we just got all the pieces. We really just, I mean, we lucked out with all the pieces. So, um, and then we had the community to support it. We knew we had the community. That was never an issue. We knew that you guys, the community, would support it, and so that was an amazing thing. So it's all because of you guys. Oh shit! Dang, Chad. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Barrels for Hope forever. I hope so, man. I really hope so. So far, so good. We only had one person drop out in December, and that spot was filled like that. And so we've got 20 people waiting to join. So um I don't, I mean, 2024, it's not stopping. We're plugging along. We've got Elijah Craig barrel proof pick coming up. We're working on a Ben Holiday pick. Um, I've got a list of things I want to put on Narav's radar for us. So we'll see. We'll see. But we've got a lot of cool things already. So the word is out. That's cool, man. It's crazy to think about. uh, David said, "Congrats on career change." Thanks, man. I'm super anxious. I'm ready for January 16th to get here and for me to get going on this new thing. I got to pass 3 licensing exams in the first 6 months. So I'm gonna have to put my study hat on. I got a lot to do. David said A1's a huge piece. It's the piece. It is the piece. We could not do it without them. There's no other store that I could go to and ask them to sell us barrels for wholesale. Those are barrels Narav and A1 could buy and he could sell in his store. And Narav is just such a gracious, quiet human that he doesn't ask for praise. So I don't even know if it embarrasses him that I talk about it, but he really needs a lot of praise for what he's doing, because he is, I mean, he is the reason Barrels for Hope exists. So make sure you get the right laser. Shut up, DJ. I think you guys are fine with whatever laser code you get on Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. All right, guys. Hey, man, I wasn't expecting to go more than 45 minutes, but I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Put it on your calendars. Next Thursday, we're doing our bourbon of the year, and I'm super excited to see what wins. It is going to be a fun pick. I think Ed is joining us. Brad is joining us. Ben is going to join us. Taylor Folds, one of our new Patreon members, is going to join us. We'll taste these blind, and we will see what gets the Whiskey Tornado Bourbon of the Year. I think it's the only bourbon of the year on WhiskeyTube that was found at MSRP and on the shelf. So, all right. Cheers, everybody. Thank you guys for all the support. We will see you guys next week. See you guys.